Hello and welcome to the Dreaming and Doing podcast with me, Nicky Raby. I'm an actor, coach, writer, speaker, podcaster and a mum. And in my coaching work, I work with creatives, personal brands, freelancers and small businesses. In my podcast, I talk about success, but not in a traditional sense. I have conversations with those who have built a business from something they love or who have made a pivot in their career. Also those who have built a brand or a job that maybe didn't exist when they were at school, and they found a way to monetize their skills, talents and expertise. I've spoken to loads of incredible people, coaches, designers, journalists, app creators, magazine editors, bloggers, content creators, authors, and all-round movers and shakers. I ask the questions that you want to know the answer to. So how they started, about money, saying no, saying yes, pitching, presenting, putting yourself out there even though it terrifies you, standing out in a busy online world, growing, scaling and making your work for you and your circumstances. The show notes are always at nickyraby.com/podcast and the conversation continues across social media, often on Instagram, my favourite platform, at Nicky Raby. Thanks so much for listening. It's great to have you with us. In today's episode, I'm talking to Fabienne O'Neill, who is the co-founder of Cuckooz Nest. It's a co-working space where there's not only a place for you to work, but also there is a nursery on site. So you can also start your day, start your commute with your little one and work, and they can play and do all the things, which is a great combination. Gone are the days before you want to be doing like 9 different trips before 9 o'clock in the morning. I think what Fabienne had to say was so interesting, and I was just really in awe of what a big project she'd created with her co-founder Charlie, and I wanted her just to share a little bit of that story as well. So if you want to come and join in the conversation, please come over to Instagram at Nicky Raby. The show notes as always are nickyraby.com/podcast, and the coaching details and all the online courses and all that good stuff. And we're doing it, we're getting really great plays, so I think hopefully we will get to that million play point by Christmas. We're really on track. There's loads of exciting things behind the scenes. So as always, I would love it if you rated or reviewed our podcast and shared it with somebody who may be, having a rough time, needing a bit of company as they walk around the park, or needing a bit of inspiration to figure out their next steps. Anyway, here's today's episode. Enjoy. Hey Fab, welcome to the podcast.
Hi there.
Hi, thanks so much for hopping on. Let's start with you. What do you do and what's your business?
So my name is Fab, or Fabienne O'Neill, that's the full length, and my business is Cuckooz Nest, which is a flexible co-working space in central London with a creche.
Oh, fantastic. And I've been, it's beautiful. It's so great. And it's one of those places that immediately make you feel clear-headed and chilled as soon as you walk in, rather than a lot of those hideous soft play things where you're like, I feel like I'm going to get a disease here. I don't want to even sit down on a chair. How did it begin for you? What did you do before?
So my business partner Charlie and I have another business called Cuckooz, which is a design-led service department business in East London City Fringe. And when that business was 4 months old, Charlie had her daughter Orla, and we'd had ideas of something similar to this, but it became very quickly apparent that childcare is very difficult and a little unflexible and quite unaffordable, especially if you're a business owner and a startup, and you kind of need it to work around your schedule as opposed to the other way around. So 2 years later, 18 months later, we launched Cuckooz Nest off the back of personal experiences in terms of running a business, and Charlie having a very restricted, parameters set around her in terms of being able to do parenthood well and running a business well.
Wow. And what did that process look like? How did you go about it? Because I think sometimes people always have these big dreams of like, yeah, I'd love to open a cafe, or I'd like to start my own festival, and sometimes it just becomes that conversation that you have over a bottle or glass of wine and it doesn't go any further. So I guess, what were the first steps that you took to make it a reality?
I mean, we're really lucky that we already operate in the property field with Cuckooz. So we'd, as I said, seen a similar concept in Singapore previously when we were meeting investors, and had kind of developed the idea to see it or adapt it for it to really cater for the London market or the UK market. And because we're already working in the property area, we opened a block of apartments in King's Cross that had a commercial unit downstairs, and thought, well, let's see how this could actually look in reality. So we modelled it according to this commercial space in the King's Cross block that we have. And unfortunately, that block then didn't come to fruition because it ended up having an owner-occupier. But we developed the concept to such a stage that we realised that it was definitely a viable business, that we then went on the hunt for a new location and came across the one that we now inhabit, which was a much better, more suitable property, actually, because of various different reasons. So, you know, it was a bit of a blessing in disguise that we lost the first site. But yeah, I think really we had the idea, the ability to access space and develop the concept alongside what we were already doing. So I think that was really, really lucky for us in that sense.
Definitely. How do you work well as a partnership? Do you have separate roles? Do you work collaboratively? I'm always really fascinated because it's just, I've never worked with a partner in that kind of way. And I would love to know sort of how that all works.
Yeah, it's always a journey of discovery.
I don't want to uncover something like, I actually don't like her, this is weird.
No. She is actually my best friend of 10 years. So that was definitely the hardest decision. There was, obviously, there's a lot at stake, essentially. But we're really lucky that it has worked really, really well. Obviously, it's not without its challenges, of course, like any partnership in life. But we do have very different skill sets. Charlie's background has always been in property. So obviously, that's her area of expertise, and she's very well connected and hugely knowledgeable about that sphere. And mine is more in the marketing side of things, and I used to run and create content around the future of work, which has lent itself really well to this particular space. So we have very different kind of expertise. However, I think we're still kind of discovering what our alignments are, and we're probably crossing over more than we will in a few years. But it's still discovering where our roles really lie from a more organic perspective.
Yeah. Did you have a time frame in place? Like, how does that sort of project start to get the wheels in motion? Did you sort of know what it was, or did it kind of evolve as the builders were like, no, love, that's not kind of going to work, or we need to do this?
I mean, no, we definitely had a project in place before we kind of went on site. With childcare, because of the ratios and the very kind of strict regulation around it, we had to be quite specific with our plans before we went on site, because there was just too much at risk if we didn't. We've now got Ofsted registration, so Ofsted have given us the seal of approval, which is fantastic, because I think we're the first space of this ilk to ever get that. So yeah, we really had to really carefully consider plans. We also went through quite an arduous process to get a change of use in planning for the actual space itself. So again, going through that process meant that we exhausted every avenue and every kind of nook and cranny within the building to ensure that it was fit for purpose, that it was adhered to policy, regulation, everything else that surrounds both building controls, but also the Ofsted side of things. So yeah, we exhausted all avenues.
Brilliant. And how did you start to get the word out? What has been really effective for you? Because that's ultimately, I guess, what it comes down to, that you kind of, to go all northern about it, you need bums on seats, you need people who are coming through your door, and, you're tucked away in Farringdon. How does that look, and how do you make that work and get people to know about you? Because I found out about you before I went, so there's clearly something working. Not that I'm some sort of guru, but your marketing is great.
Yeah, oh, thank you. I think firstly, it's compared to our other business, it's a very niche group of people that we're targeting. That said, this actually does also lend itself well to larger corporates, and we're starting to have those conversations as well, to really kind of better support their workforce and working parent workforce. However, back to your question. So yeah, we knew that word of mouth would be very impactful and very effective, because this is a pretty close-knit community in terms of parents and our demographic. So we've done your very traditional flyering marketing of that ilk. We've been really lucky to have had the great fortune to have some great influencers in the space via running events here, but also we're now working with Hustle and Fox, who are our marketing team, and they are fantastic and have a great network as well. So yeah, we've just been really, really lucky. And actually our interior designer, Leo Wood, who did all the interior design for the space, she's got her own pop-up creche with co-working in Mile End. So again, she was already quite embedded in this area, in this community. So it's been kind of via contacts, via events, via word of mouth, and kind of more traditional marketing, just going out there and spreading the word.
Absolutely.
The streets.
How do you focus on the day-to-day, but also the growth? So I guess not getting caught up in the, oh, blimey, we've got to reply to this thing, but also we've got to reply to this thing because there's something down the line. Sort of how do you navigate that that dance between the two?
So firstly, we have an incredible team, and both with Cuckooz and Cuckooz Nests, we are nothing without our teams. And we have had the great fortune of having some fantastic people join us. So at Cuckooz Nest, we have a head of workspace, Petra, who has a wealth of experience in running co-working spaces. She was previously at the Trumpery, which is a very established social enterprise workspace. They have a couple of locations across London. We've also got our nursery staff, crash staff, Heather and Jane. Heather is our manager and Jane our deputy, and then Joanna and a couple of others that are practitioners within the space, who they bring in the expertise to run each kind of segment of the business in that sense, which allows us to really focus and concentrate on growth, looking at future spaces, which we've already got visibility on the next couple, and obviously then kind of the larger scale growth, which is speaking to bigger businesses about how we can better support them as well.
Wow, so exciting. So I guess, what does a typical day look like for you?
Oh my God, there's no such thing.
Coffee, all the coffee.
What does a typical day look like? A day in the life of Charlie, all right. Well, I mean, we've tried to separate ourselves across the businesses, so I'm trying to focus more on Nest and her on Cuckooz. But essentially, it is looking at that growth and what it's going to take for us to get from where we are at the moment to where we want to be by January 2019. At the moment, we are hugely focusing on space number 2, which we are bidding on very shortly. So watch this space. I can't say much more than that.
Oh, it's so exciting.
But and then we've got a couple of potentially very exciting partnerships that are again coming to fruition, I think hopefully by kind of September, October this year. So lots bubbling away, but it's and it's really just working on those kind of key achievements that we need to get under our belt and done by the end of the year. So yeah, watch this space.
Absolutely. What sort of stuff really helps you navigate these challenges, or these slight like, ooh, this feels a little bit tough, or I'm gonna have to put my game face on today? What really helps you sort of get through the day?
I mean, again, as I said, our staff, I can't stop preaching about them. They're just incredible. But equally, having a co-founder and being a partnership makes it all so much more manageable. I have no idea how people do this on their own, and hats off to them, because just having that sounding board just means that you are able to kind of, process things in a far more rational manner. But equally, networks, and something that has kind of come from creating this space, the community and the network and the support that we're getting from our immediate community, but also networks that we've brought in via events. It's just all of a sudden the support that you can see that's coming from that has really kind of opened my eyes to really the value of those networks and how important it is to have them to really ensure that you can continue to progress in life, particularly from a business perspective.
Definitely. And I think certainly when social media sort of really first kicked in, loads of introverts were crying out immediately like, yes, I never have to leave my house again. I never have to have like a proper interaction. But actually it's been the people that I've met in real life that are just much more, you feel, it's just a deeper connection. It's a sense of who they are and what they're all about. And it's still so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so key. And also it's just lovely seeing people in person sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean, testament to that is that Charlie and I actually met because she was chairwoman of Young Entrepreneurs Property and I was the media partner, or the business I worked for was the media partner. So we ran this event together for the Bright Sparks Within Property about 10, 11 years ago. And from that, we became the closest of friends. And then, look what's happened subsequently. So there is, you cannot put a price on it.
No, not at all. Has there been any huge surprises along the way? Probably
many. I think maybe just huge surprises. Gosh, it's a difficult one. There are very many. The surprised at your capabilities and how much you can actually do and achieve in a short space of time. It's quite amazing still. But also, I think that kind of cliche thing to say, but it's don't worry about failing, just fail fast and start again. And if something doesn't work, and there have been many occasions, I think, the sheer tenacity to kind of continue, even though things are not necessarily easy or they haven't worked the first time around, that's surprising as well, the ability to be quite as tenacious as you probably didn't expect you were able to be.
Yeah, and I find that each challenge that I face, if I've vaguely seen it before, then my bounce back rate is much quicker and I'm like, it'll be fine. Whereas when I was in my early 20s, if, or acting, you get a rejection and you'd be like, oh, right, I've got to sit on my sofa for a fortnight and really think about this. And it's just like, no, next, move on and kind of crack on with it, really.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
How do you switch off? What sort of helps you to not have ideas whirring around in your head at all times of day? Because I guess we're so connected now, that could be very easily an option.
Yeah, it's hard. I think you have to be very strict with yourself. So I try and have holidays where either there's no phone signal or where you have to, in some way, shape or form, switch off your phone. Because I think, as you rightfully mentioned, the kind of connectivity that we have nowadays means that you can literally work 24/7. But I think giving yourself the time is absolutely vital. So I try and do that either by getting away out of London, even if it's just to Sussex or something. Also reading a book and exercise, like your kind of, again, your typical methods, but they're typical for a reason because they work.
They really. I just started running again, and I'm like, day one, I was like, why do people like doing this? And by day two, I'm like, I'm a runner. I'm doing it. And you just get, you get really into it really quickly. Yeah. It's because you realise that you sort of need this stuff. What gives you your ideas? Where do you sort of feel most creative? And where do they pop up to say hello rather than just sitting at your desk all day?
Probably when you have those moments where you switch off. It's allowing to yourself to get rid of that busyness in your mind. But so I think also just chatting with friends. Like, I'm very fortunate. I have a very creative group of friends, and actually it's more since I've started my own business, realizing that talking to them, they've got so many ideas, and having that outside perspective, you tell them what you're doing, or what you're up to this week, and they start to come up with these ideas of just bouncing ideas off each other, and that's probably the next thing that you're going to do. So yeah, I think just talking about what you're doing on a day-to-day basis with people who aren't involved just really stimulates really kind of interesting creative conversation.
Oh, and they're so needed, because there's nothing like working by yourself all day and kind of being a Labrador waiting for somebody to come home, go, hi, I just need to tell you this because I've been alone all day and I need to share it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Has there been a book or a resource or a role model or something that sort of, I guess, change your perspective? I was talking about this on the podcast a little while ago, that at school we weren't necessarily, especially as females, taught this growth mindset. And so we had to kind of get it from outside influences, whether that was looking at some sassy teacher in Heartbreak High going, yeah, wow, she's wearing leather trousers, she's really cool. Or a pop star or somebody. Like, where did that come from for you?
I'm fortunate. I've got a very kind of feminist mother who's always instilled ideas of independence and etc. into my mind since a very early age. So, I mean, yeah, she's definitely stimulated me for sure. My business partner, she's incredible, and I think I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for her, and she's absolutely a beacon to I think probably many young people, young women in this world. So she's definitely one inspiration. And then I don't know, I think we're really fortunate in our generation to have a lot of pretty incredible, iconic women that are. So I think there's a breadth and depth of different people across the course of my life that have really inspired me. And right on at this minute, I can't really pull one out the hat.
But it's one of those things, sometimes it's like later on down the line, like something comes back to you. It's almost like a trigger where you're just like, oh yeah, I remember, oh, I get it now. Because I think sometimes when you're young, that you're always doing two things at once. And sometimes people will say something and you kind of hear it half-heartedly. And then it's only when later down the line, you're like, oh, that's what they meant. I get it. Yeah, right. Yeah. And we're very lucky to have wise people in our life. How do you, I've got just a couple of questions, which is one, like, how do you get back up when you face those challenges, or how do you overcome adversity in that way, whether it's a no or a disappointment or a challenge, or things just didn't go the way that you thought they were? How do you move through that?
I think sometimes it's very difficult, and it can feel like there is no route out or no other option or no solution. But again, I mean, having a co-founder and someone else that you kind of have to step up for is really a big stimulus. And that's also someone that can help carry you out of potentially a more negative mindset. Equally, I think it's experience, and now being, obviously Cuckooz Nest is younger, but now being 2 years down the line with Cuckooz, it's realizing that if one person says no, or if that doesn't go right, that something else will, and someone else will, and you just got to keep trying, and you've just got to keep working hard and exhaust all avenues, because there's probably one that will work. And it's not always easy, but yeah, just don't stop trying.
Totally. And the number of times where I've got a no and later down the line I'm like, oh, thank goodness they said no, because actually it wasn't the right fit, and I'm so glad I'm not in that situation now.
Absolutely. And I think, if you overcome, if it's slightly harder and you actually get there in the end, or you find a different route or a different solution, then it's much more satisfying, and it's probably, as you say, more fitting and more correct. So yeah, just work at it, 'cause it's probably going to work out.
Definitely. And one final question, which is, where would you like to be in 5 years' time in business and in life?
Oh wow!
I know. I saved the big one for last because it's a bigger one. Or like just what comes to mind tonight, because tomorrow you'd be like, I'm going to be an ice skater.
Yeah. Where would I like to be? I hope that both Cuckooz and Cuckooz Nest are hugely successful by that point, and we're slightly, definitely involved on a day-to-day basis, but maybe not in the kind of intrinsic way that we are at the moment. To see it self kind of fulfilling in that sense, and operating independently of us would be really great to see. So from a business perspective, I suppose that's what I would like to, or where I'd like to be in 5 years. And then personal perspective, God, who knows? Maybe living in a country where it's a slightly warmer climate. Although that said, our summer's been amazing, so who knows?
Yeah, it's been great, and now everybody's like, oh, the rain is here, brilliant. But even today, like, I went to pick up my son and I was just like, oh, what do I wear? Like, I don't ever seem to have the right clothes for the right season. I'm like, do I put a coat on? No, because I need to work on it. I must get better at it. If people want to come and visit or find out more, where should they go, or what should they do?
If they want to come and visit, just give us a call. Just pop to the website cuckooznest.co.uk and you can inquire there, or call us up and we'll book you in for a tour. Please just come and see it, because I think it's until people are here, they can't quite get their head around it sometimes, but it's such a beautiful space. We've got incredible members, incredible staff, and I just don't doubt that if you do need a space like this, that you will love it.
And who is your target market? So if people are listening and going, oh, am I the right person for this? What sort of people does it generally attract?
Literally any job type. That's what's blown my mind, actually, more than anything in the most recent few months, is that just the breadth and depth of skills and job types here. We've got a boat designer, we've got barristers, we have PRs, etc., etc. So it doesn't matter what you do. If you need a desk and just some time to just get shit done, this is the space for you. So even if it's literally booking a holiday, or I don't know, just personal life admin, the whole beauty of this space is that it is totally flexible. So it should work to your schedule and your requirements. So no matter what you do and what you need to get done, it's a lovely nursery setting for your kids, and you're just next door, so it really allows you to just get whatever you need to get done.
And I guess even if you just want to come and sit down and put your headphones in and watch some telly on your laptop, just for a bit of peace and quiet, like absolutely. Never mind the work, that might be quite nice as well.
Yeah, and we have a lovely little sleep room just for the parents, so you can come and literally get an hour's kip if that's what you need after being sleep deprived for the first 3 months of your baby's life.
I mean, that's worth the membership. Anyway, yeah, that's brilliant. And nobody also really thinks about the parents in that way. So I think that's lovely that you're thinking about it and being parent driven as well, because ultimately we're the ones who are paying, not these kids.
No, absolutely. I hope that all of our members will say it's great for both.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I've loved chatting. Thank you so much for sharing. It's a gorgeous space. You're in Farringdon, aren't you, in London? We are, yeah, just less than a 5-minute walk from the station. Easy peasy, and easy with buggies and all that kind of stuff, so you'll be absolutely fine. Go and visit and go and say hello. I'm sure they would love to see you. So, but thank you so much. I've learnt loads, actually. Thank you very much. My pleasure. Thank you for having me. No worries. Take care. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I would love to hear what you thought of the episode and share any takeaways with me. Come and find me across social media at Nicky Raby, or you can visit the podcast page, nickyraby.com/podcast.